Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is pushing Joe Biden to ease $50,000 in student debt for each American that owes it. Supporters call it an economic boost. They say it's Econ 101. I personally think it's a scam that will enrich the richest Americans. Joining me now to debate, Young Americans for Liberty analyst Kristin Tate and University of Maryland economist Peter Morici, who I must say shocked me with this piece in the Washington Times today. All right, Peter, now, despite your views on small government in general, you think this is a good idea. Why?
Well, I think that basically a lot of young people were taken by universities. They were sold a false bill of goods about what their educations would be worth, and they were encouraged by their parents and in some cases by President Obama, depending on when they came of age at 18, to enroll in programs that we knew would not lead to careers that could pay the debt. You know, about half of the freshmen that enroll every year never finish a degree. We know that. Or they finish a degree in something that is wholly worthless and that they were told would be of value.
You know, Kristin, I don't disagree with anything Peter said. I just don't know why I should foot the bill for it. You follow this. You've been passionate about this. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, it's become very fashionable for Democrats to demand that government cancel student loan debt. But in reality, this would just be a massive wealth transfer from taxpayers, including blue collar and minority workers, to middle and upper income households, which hold the majority of student loan debt. Bailing out student debt is insanely unfair to people who chose not to go to college because they couldn't afford it, to graduates who paid their debt off quickly, and we have to mention to people who joined the military to get a free college education. I mean, what a slap in the face to veterans. But I think the biggest problem here, Charles, is that forgiving student debt does nothing to solve the underlying problems that my fellow panelist mentioned, because colleges will continue to hike their tuition with impunity thanks to virtually unlimited government-backed student loans. Right. And then eventually we'll just have another generation of graduates buried in debt demanding more bailouts. The cycle just continues. We've got to get the government out of the federal loans business. That's the only solution.
Peter, what do you say about the moral hazard here?
Well, I addressed that in the column I published this morning in the Washington Times. I want to reform the system. Going forward, I want universities to mortgage their buildings if necessary, to underwrite half the debt. And I want to stop the government backup, so that essentially banks who underwrite the other half and universities are on the hook when they tell some aspiring French major that you can go almost anywhere with a humanities diploma. I've heard that said. You got to remember where I've been living the last 50 years. I mean, I've been living inside the castle, and I've watched people be hoodwinked and told that, you know, there are broad opportunities if you major in English, and they'll name a few people who have become CEOs or this or that. They don't tell you about all the busboys, baristas, and so forth that hold those diplomas as well. You know, when I was a young man trying to work my way into the academic world, which was difficult in those days, we had lots of PhDs at the Minneapolis airport, you know, driving cabs, but yet PhD programs were selling young people bills of goods. Now, at that age, they should know better. They're 22, 23. But freshmen, they were basically advised by their parents and college admissions counselors. Would you hand a 17-year-old $50,000 and say, go invest this in the market on the basis of hot stock tips your dad will have and what a retail broker will give him?
Let me bring Kristin back in, because, Kristin, I wouldn't hand $50,000 to a 17-year-old, but I also wouldn't hand $50,000 to someone with a master's degree who's going to make over $1 million more than a high school graduate will in a lifetime.
Exactly. And bailing out the student loan debt just encourages more students to get more of these non-practical degrees. The feds currently fund 70% of all student aid. So we do need to get them out of the student loan business. That's the fundamental problem here. And we can't bail out the existing debt before we fix that problem. Students can qualify for as much aid as they need in most cases, regardless of their personal credit history or the return on investment on their degree. degrees. I have a family friend who got their degree in archaeology, took out a ton of student loans to do it. He now owes $50,000 in debt. He's living with his parents and working in retail. These kinds of stories are all too common. My fellow panelist is right. These students have been sold a bill of goods. Now they've been told it's not their fault they can't get a job. It's the fault of capitalism and Republicans. And that's why they're all demanding free bailouts.
I'm not saying it's the fault of capitalism.
There's a lot of,
oh, no. I'm not saying that.
There's a lot of cash. There's a lot of cash out there, right? In fact, Harvard alone has $40 billion. If anyone's going to pay these kids back, and they're not all kids, by the way, maybe we should go to the people who hoodwinked them in the first place. Kristin, Peter, thank you both very much. That was fantastic. Folks,